You might remember how that the scripture tells us about King David when he commissioned the census that God was not pleased with. And it resulted in the death angel going across the land. And it describes how that they saw it as it came into Jerusalem. And it was there in the threshing floor of one named Araunah. And David and his men, they went running to where it was. And they said to Araunah, he says, we want to buy your threshing floor. And he said to the king, he says, King, it's yours. Just take it. And all the instruments to build an altar to, it's all yours. Just take it. And King David said those wonderful words. And it says, I will not give to God that which cost me nothing. And my goodness, we can think about and dwell on that principle for a long, long, long time. But simply what King David was saying, he says, it requires a sacrifice in order to give an offering that is pleasing to the Lord. That's what the controversy was between Cain and Abel. And the fact that the offering was not pleasing unto the Lord. And so a heart to give is that which is a desire to be pleasing unto God, and to allow it to be understood that, God, I love you, and I treasure you above anything here on this earth. There's nothing on this earth that I am so attached to that I would not be willing to surrender it and just get rid of it in order to please you. You remember there was a young man that came to Jesus, and he was described as being rich. And he asked Jesus, he says, how can I serve the Lord? And Jesus said, well, obey the commandments. And the young man said, well, I've done that all my life. And then Jesus read what was on the young man's heart. And he says, one thing thou lacketh. In other words, there's one big thing in your life that is a stumbling block to you. And he said simply this. He said, take everything you have and give it away. And just distribute it to the poor. And then Jesus said, come and follow me. And I've said this before on this radio broadcast, that I believe that God was calling the young man to ministry. He says, give up the things of the world, give up your titles and your positions, and give up all of your things, and just lay it down and just come and follow me. The scripture says that he turned away sorrowfully because he was very, very rich, and he loved his things. And I do believe that that is the principle that we must understand about giving, is we have to allow ourselves to come to a place to where we're not so in love with our things that we wouldn't sacrifice them to follow the Master. This is Pastor Jack King with the Gospel on the radio broadcast.